Welcome to Hoodwinked. I'm your host, Corey McDonald, and I'm super excited to be back. My voice is a little jacked up because I was screaming for my boys yesterday. We back in the Super Bowl, baby. That's a truth that you can live with. We are back, and we ain't going nowhere as long as number 15's throwing that rock. So congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, congratulations to all those teams who went out and competed. But I root specifically for the Kansas City Chiefs, so let's go, let's go, let's go. Hey, listen, today is episode 2. We're talking about our true identity. Go on my Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Chasers, and sign up. Subscribe so that when there's an episode that comes out, it goes directly to you. We're also on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So go get it. Go sign up. Become a part of what's getting ready to happen here. So I am super excited. Last time I was on, I talked to you guys about a book called Making a Negro Christian. Now listen, everybody who's hearing my voice, this should concern you. It should concern you, especially we've got a presidential candidate that just said that this country wasn't founded on any kind of racism and we're not a racist country. All right, whatever. I disagree with that, but hey, she has her opinion. Here's what I do know is that the things that we've been told all our lives may not be true. The things that we've been told all our lives on what to believe and why we believe it, hey, I think we've been hoodwinked. And I think I think I have some proof to show you that. Now, specifically to the people who were brought over here, my ancestors, the indigenous people who were here and got their land taken away. This is of extreme importance for us to understand this whole religion thing in this country called Christianity. Now listen, I love God. That ain't gonna change. Ain't gonna change. I've had some people who've given me some really good feedback from my first episode. Thank you. I got a ton of likes. Thank you. But I also got some ridicule, which I was prepared for. I know it's coming because here's the thing. I'm an ordained pastor. I come from a family full of Christians, and guess what? That's going to rub some people the wrong way, and they're going to have a misunderstanding of who I am and what I'm trying to portray. So I'm going to try to put this out there and let everybody find their own truth. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for me, and I am going to go wherever truth leads me, and I don't care. And listen, it's difficult to walk away from things that you've been accustomed to believing all your life. It's a difficult thing. This stuff is ingrained in us. It is a part of who we are. It's a part of our fabric as Americans to be a part of some religion, right? And, you know, listen, people view you a certain way if you're connected with a religion, right? So I want to go where truth leads me. I truly believe what Paul says, be renewed by the renewing of your mind. I want to know what truth is. And unfortunately, I found out some things that, are contradictory. What if I were to tell you guys that just about every religion out there has a virgin birth connected to it as it relates to their Lord or their Savior or their Messiah or their God? Every single one of them. What if I was also to tell you that every single religion recognized that there was a massive flood that happened, that life had to start over? What if I were to tell you that a lot of what we've been told simply isn't true? What if I was to tell you that stones that were written thousands and thousands of years before we knew anything about a Dead Sea Scroll, before we knew anything about the canonized Bible, these things were written in stone thousands of years ago, yet very, very similar story. Very similar story. I was always brought up to believe that, the Bible is the only source. It's the true source. It's the Word of God. It's the inerrant Word of God. Written by men, but inspired by God. Well, that could be true, but it also could not be true. What have you done to go find out if it's true? Have you just listened to someone tell you that it's true and you followed it? I did. Did you go to school and learn about these things and have issues with them? I did. Did you go back and forth with the pastor or back and forth with the professor with things you didn't understand? Or did you just accept it and say, hey, this is just the way it is. there's mysteries to God. I did. Well, there's not a whole lot of mysteries to God as it relates to us. There's mysteries to God as it relates to God, because we will never be able to understand God fully yet. We don't have that capacity. Yet we try to. We want to make God human so that we can compare ourselves to God. That ain't the way it works. That is not the way it works. Now listen, I'm not saying anything is wrong, false, or whatever. All I'm saying is we may have been hoodwinked, right? So I don't know if you guys keep up with all the heroes back in the day, but one of my heroes is Marcus Garvey. And he once said this: people without knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of indigenous people. There's a lot of African-American people. There's a lot of people of color who are trees without roots. We've been told a certain things. We've had a religion forced on us, right? We were indoctrinated in it when we were born into this country. I'll prove that to you with this book, Making a Negro Christian, that was predicated from these pastors and ministers from these different churches. One of the churches is the Presbyterian Church. They came up with this plan. Listen, we're going to convert every one of these people we have in slavery into what we believe. That's a problem for me, because number one, we were forced here without our, we couldn't fight against it. We were sold into this slavery. We were stripped and taken away from our native land, our native tongue, and our native religion. And then we were brought over to a foreign place where we didn't even know the language, let alone the religion, and it was beat into us. It was raped into us. It was misused into us. All kinds of disturbing things. And here's the most disturbing part, is that these people thought they were doing good. These people thought they were doing God's work. Well, listen, if that's God's work, I don't want to be a part of that. Because at the end of the day, if God is love, God is all things love, all things good, then there's no possible way God signs off on anybody being enslaved. There's no way God signs off on anybody being abused, misused, raped, beat, murdered, all in the name of God. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And where I come from, if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Now, when I went and did this DNA test and I found out what my origin was, like I told you guys previously, it just sparked all of this curiosity. I want to know things. I want to know what's going on. My identity matters to me. I have 3 boys, and their identity matters. So if I'm putting things in their head that aren't true, then what kind of father does that make me? And if I know the truth, I need to share that truth. And guess what? I'm not making a whole lot of friends either. And that's okay, because I'm willing to go wherever truth leads me. My question to you, are you willing to go wherever truth leads you? Are you willing to walk away from what was ingrained into you or what you were indoctrinated into all your life? And maybe you've been one of those people who are just super religious and been a part of this, and you've given your all. Just because we give our all doesn't make what we gave our all to true. We have been hoodwinked. We have been misled. We absolutely have been led astray. So why is identity important? Identity encompasses the memories, experiences, relationships, and values that creates one's self, one's sense of self. Our identity matters. And here's the thing. All of our identities are very different, just like our DNA. Unless you're an identical twin, your DNA is different than anyone you encounter. That's your fingerprint of who you are as a person, as a human. Identity matters. And when we have a mixed up identity or a false sense of who we are or who we came from, you can end up with a life full of problems, bad choices, misunderstandings. I can see how we can fall into depression because we don't even know who we are and we want people to accept us for who we are. That's crazy. I lived that life. It's not fun. So I am going to unapologetically tell the truth. I'm going to share what I believe. And guess what? Now everybody's going to fall into that, and I'm cool with it. Totally cool with it. Totally excited about it. So people of color had our true identities stripped away from us and given an identity and a religion that was not ours. Wasn't ours. No, we see it every day in everyday life. We got people wanting to force things on people. I need to force my ideology on you. I need to force my religion on you. I need to force my lifestyle on you. Oh, the way I do it is the right way. The way you do it is the wrong way. Oh, it's just ridiculous. It's just a bunch of people circling the bottom. We're not elevating anyone. We're not elevating ourselves. We're not elevating our sense of understanding. We're taking someone else's word for it. How many times we've been on our knees praying and begging only to nothing? How many times have we made what we thought was the right decision as it relates to faith only to find out, probably should have made that decision? How many times have we been told, oh, you just need to wait on God? How many times have we been told, oh, God's going to intervene and God's going to do all these things for your life? What if God gave you the power to make that change in your own life as opposed of calling on God to do it? Maybe, what if God had other things that God was responsible for and he gave us all the tools that we needed in our life to navigate it on a very successful basis? And then he gave us an example on how to live that life. At the end of the day, it's choice. At the end of the day, we can choose to continue to do what we do and expecting a different result. I think the definition for that is called insanity. Or we can truly look ourselves in the mirror and be honest with what you see in the mirror and then go search for your truth. Because the truth is there. The truth, people don't want to hear the truth because it changes something. Because once that truth is spoken, now you need to act. Now you need to do something about it. People don't want to hear the truth because maybe it's going to require you to do something different in your life that you're uncomfortable with. We need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. We need to be comfortable with going out and getting the information and making the changes necessary. Because at the end of the day, we have this life to live. And we are responsible for this life. We're responsible for what comes out of our mouths. We're responsible for our actions. And God has given us everything we need from a spiritual standpoint to be successful. We don't have to rely on external forces. We just simply don't. The ancient texts prove that, and scripture from the Bible proves that. We want everyone else to take care of us. We want everyone else to make it good for us, and we don't want to put in the work. We just simply don't want to put in the work. So in this quest of making Negroes Christian, there's some pretty disturbing things that are in this book. I'm gonna share one highlight with you. I have to put my glasses on for that. One of the highlights is this. It says, we have to understand what truth is in order to accept it as well. And you can't do that just by taking people's word for it. What you have to do is go find it yourself and be willing to move where it tells you to move. Now, I've had this thing open all day. It says, as to the difficulties of making a Negro Christian, it may be pleaded that the Negroes are grown persons when they come over, and that having been accustomed to the pagan rites, the idolatries of their own country, they are prejudiced against all other religions, and more particularly against the Christian faith, as forbidding all the licentiousness which is usually practiced among the heathens. Now, licentiousness means sexual acts. Now, I have no idea why we go into a sexual act when we're trying to convert someone to be a Christian. What does that have to do with it? And then they called us heathens. Then they called us savages. In this entire book of which I've read, not one time do any of these pastors, priests, or ministers call us human. We're creatures. We're savages. We're heathens. Everything we knew, everything we grew up with is idolatrous and pagan. Yet you can point to a lot of things in Christianity that point directly to paganism. You can point out a lot of things in Christianity that points directly to idolatry. And number one, how would they even know what we believe when they didn't stay there long enough to figure that out? They came and paid some shekels, and they took us from our country, and they brought us here and forced a religion on us that is questionable. And here's the thing. We've bought into it. We took it hook, line, and sinker. You know, one of the things, a part of Christianity tells you this. When you've caused harm to someone, you need to make restitution. You need to ask for forgiveness. You need to make restitution. Well, part of the slavery thing was, after slavery ended, was every slave was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. We still waiting on that. Ain't happened. There's been no closure to this slavery. There's been no closure to it, which is why it's so important that we talk about this, because it continues to affect our culture. You want to talk about black on black crime? Let's talk about black on black crime. Black on black crime is a learned behavior, mostly learned from our ancestors who were beat, murdered, and raped. Learned behavior. We need to bring closure to this. And you can't bring closure to it unless there's restitution paid. Now, listen, I'm not advocating. I don't need your money. I don't want your money. I want things to be truthful. I want someone running for president to be able to say, yeah, that was terrible. This country did have a bunch of slaves. It was founded off of slavery. Because here's the thing. Most of the people who wrote the Constitution were slave owners. And you tell me a good slave owner. How can you be good slave owner when you're holding someone against their will? How can you be a good slave owner? Oh, I treat them great. Yet you've taken their freedom away. You're forcing them to work. You don't treat them well. You don't dress them. You're feeding them scraps unless they have light skin. Then you bring them into the home, and then they can still eat your scraps, but not the scraps. There has to be restitution. There has to be forgiveness. And I know my people, we're forgiving people. But it's never been presented to us to forgive. What's been presented to us out of slavery, Jim Crow. Out of Jim Crow, the bad, police, beating us and killing us. I mean, all these different things. Yet, people of my culture, and listen, I'm guilty. I used to think the same way. We've come a long way. We have come a long way, but we haven't come far enough. And then this religion thing that's forced upon us. It's extraordinarily disturbing. It's disturbing because what we've done is we've made it our religion. We believed. It was forced. It was indoctrinated. So then it became who we are, which took us further and further and further from who we actually are. Now, I don't know about you. That makes me mad. That angers me. But I'm inquisitive. I don't like being a part of the norm. I like to think for myself. And what I do know is when things don't make sense, oftentimes they're not true. And there's a whole lot about Christianity that does not make sense. Oh, I know I'm going to be called an apostate. I'm going to be called, I've lost my mind. I don't believe in God anymore. Yeah, you go ahead and think that. You can think that all you want. Tell me how that's working for you. Because at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror and figure out who you are. I looked. I didn't like who I was. And there had to be an answer for it. And I truly believe I found that answer. Let me go to another one of these because this is it's a terrible thing. These folks really thought that they were doing God's work. They had a thing where, how many people did you baptize? How many of the Negroes did you baptize? How many of the heathens did you baptize? Hey, listen, they're going to come over here as adults. They're not going to want to do what they want to do, but the kids are going to be born in our country, and they're going to be born in our language, and they're going to be born in our religion. Let me ask you a question. Why was it so important for them to convert us to the religion of Christianity? Or any religion for that matter. Why? I'll give you the answer. It's called control. It's called control. They want to control what we think. They want to control how we live. They want to control what we believe. They want to control how we act. And this has been from the beginning. Because if I can control you, then I win the game. Not only did they control us, but they've hoodwinked us into believing that this religion that was forced upon us is real. Now, I know a whole lot of people are going to take that completely out of context because that's what people do, especially when faced with the truth. They don't want to face the truth face to face. They want to make excuses for the truth. But the truth is, there's something wrong. And let's just speak to Christianity on its head, on its own. Christianity should be able to stand on its own, so let's just speak to it. There's more churches than any grocery store, liquor store in this country. There's more churches. There's a church pretty much in every community on every block. Well, not every block, but definitely in every community. We have places in this country where they call the Bible Belt. I mean, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of churches all across the country. Why are we in so much chaos? Oh, I know it. I got it. Here's why. Because the devil is the ruler of the world. Yeah, okay. That's cliche, by the way. That's an easy out. Because when I can blame an external force, then that takes responsibility off of me. We have a responsibility to know who we are. We have a responsibility to know who God is. And we have a responsibility to act accordingly. So why aren't we acting accordingly? Oh, some people will be like, oh, we're all individuals and we can make our own choice, free will. Yet, religion, if this country's founded off of Judeo-Christian beliefs, supposedly. Well, if this country was founded off Judeo-Christian beliefs and it subscribed to murdering, raping, beating, forced labor on people who weren't of this country, all under the guise of the Bible and religion, I don't want to be a part of that any longer. It has hurt me too much. It has led me the wrong way too many times. It has allowed me to put my trust more into people or man than on the source of which that flows through me, which is God. We all have Christ-like conscience. We all have God's Spirit dwelling in us. That's a fact. But religion controls. Religion lies. Religion misleads. Religion deceives. Religion is power hungry. Because if I got power over you, then you will do whatever I want you to do. Period. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an ordained pastor. I've spoken into the lives of people from a spiritual standpoint. I've lied to people from a spiritual standpoint. Oh, just all you got to do is go pray. No, you got to do more than pray. You got to do more than pray. It's not about just getting on your knees and asking the genie in the bottle to make your life better. He's given us the tools to make our own life better. The problem is we're listening to fools lead us astray. It's the blind leading the blind because we're too lazy or too afraid to go find the truth that's sitting right before us. I've had people tell me, all those books you read that weren't in the Bible, you should just discount them because have you read them? No, I didn't read it. So then how are you going to discount something you didn't read? You're just going to throw it out the window because someone told you that wasn't a book, a good book to read, or that book didn't have anything to do with Christianity. It's not the way to do it, guys. It's not the way to do it. We're better than that. We've been made better than that. And the information is there if you want it. I'm going to read one more highlight from this book. And then I'm going to close out. Here's one. And this is from, again, Making a Negro Christian. And these are people, excuse me, these are people who are part of the Christian church, Presbyterian church, Baptist church, the angelic church, excuse me, the Angelic Church of England. And they came up with a plan. How are we going to make these Negroes believe what we believe? Because the only way that they can keep these Negroes in compliance is to make them believe what they believe, so that they can manipulate them into thinking that what they're believing is going to be a benefit to their life. Disturbing. Laboring beast is what they called us. Laboring beast, but as man slaves and women slaves who have the same frame and faculties with yourselves and have souls capable of being made eternally happy and reason and understanding to receive instruction in order to do it. If they came from abroad, let it not be said that they are as far from the knowledge of Christ in a Christian country as when they dwelt among pagan idolaters. If they have been born among you and you have never breathed any air, wait a minute, and they have never breathed any air but that of Christian country, let them not be so much as strangers. These people are crazy. They're twisted. They're trying to put their twisted ideology on a group of people, and it worked. It absolutely worked. Most black people don't want to go do the history. They don't want to go back to the history and find out who they are, what their ancestors believe, because this has been enough for them. I'm tired of being abused or people of my color being abused. Let me just get that. I'm not being abused. I'm good. I'm not faced a lot of racism. I'm good. But I'm still a black man in this country. I still have ancestors who were forced in this country and labored and were raped some murdered, most all beaten, and most all forced Christianity down their throat. So it absolutely affects me. It's disturbing. And what's more disturbing is that the churches that are associated with this, that still exist today, where's their penance? Where have they? I mean, these churches are, Presbyterian Church, still a very large denomination in this country. At one point was the largest denomination in the country. Where's their penance? You can do this and just move on with life. And then we have to pick up the pieces. We are the minority. It's a joke, guys. It's a joke. I got more examples, but I don't have a whole lot more time. I'm going to get back to some of those examples in the next episode, and I'm probably going to break out some other stuff. Here's a couple of books that I highly recommend. One of those books is called The Epic of Humanity by Billy Carson. Check it out. Tells a story. What he's done is that he's taken a lot of the ancient texts. I'm talking about the Emerald Tablets, the Astros Hasis, Astros Hasis, and then the Book of the Egyptian Dead, the Sumerian Tablets. He's taken all of these ancient texts, and what he's done is he's compared them to Scripture. Might want to read that book. A lot of people are going to call it what they want to call it, but I'm calling it what I'm going to call it. A lot of this stuff makes sense. A lot of what I was taught didn't make sense. I just accepted it. Not accepting it anymore. Not accepting it anymore. And I'm not denouncing my faith. My faith is my faith. I know God exists, and I believe it, and God dwells right in me. I know that. That ain't changing. But because people are afraid of the truth, and people are too lazy to go do the work that I did, they'll ridicule me, and they'll call me all kinds of things. Bring it on. Let's go. Let's get the battle started. I'm super excited. Episode 3 is going to drop in the next day or so. We're going to get back on this true identity. I'm going to bring up some more of these ideas or these highlights through this book, and then I'm going to introduce another book to you. Hey, check us out. Go subscribe to us again on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchasers, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Send me a message. If you like what you heard, if you want something to add to it, you want to have a debate, you want to talk about it, hook me up. Give me a call. Give me a message. I'll be back with you. Super excited to be back at this. Looking forward to the next one. Go Chiefs!